Hello. How's everyone doing? Hello. Oops, I forgot to do that thing where I post the invite onto Facebook for today's live in case you want to be in the, I don't know what they call it. They call it the broadcast station or something or other. If you want to be in here with me and be on screen, you're welcome to join. I'm just going to post in the comment what today's link is in StreamYard. So there it is. It's posted to Facebook and to YouTube. And if you follow that StreamYard link, you'll be actually in the studio with me, which means you could be on this side of the screen with me if you want to share or talk about what we're talking about today, which is that nothing matters. And if you don't want to be on the screen with me, that doesn't matter because nothing matters. So that's what the whole point of today is. And what is the power of knowing that? So I'm just going to get on Facebook over here, and it says I plan to go live. Interesting. But I'm pretty sure I am live because somebody's watching me right now, and I don't know who. So say hello if you are watching. I'm just going to Facebook now to see if any comments are coming on Facebook because they don't all show up in the studio here in StreamYard because I don't want to miss anybody. But there we go. It says I'm live, and if any comments come there, hopefully I'll see them. But yes, if you are watching, there's Lydia. Hi, Lydia. If you are watching, definitely say hello, type a message, and I'll try and find it, and hopefully I see it. So today we are talking about the power of knowing that nothing matters. And I think this is a very, very powerful thing to know. And there is a bit of a paradox in it as well, because whether or not something matters is really relative to the person it matters to. But we can talk a little bit about some ways of rewording whether or not something matters or what that even means to you. So I see whoever was just watching has just left. So we're down to one. I have no problem with saying that out loud. Hi, Lydia. You can wave. I can see your face. There's Lydia. You can't see her, the rest of you guys, but I can because she's in StreamYard with me. I do want to just give it a few seconds just in case somebody does pop on. But, it's the way it is now that it's Wednesday night. It's sunny out, or, it was raining this morning. I think it's good to be outside and watch this as a replay anyway. But just in case some people are coming on, I do kind of like pass the first 3 or 4 minutes just to make sure people know I'm here. Okay. So the reason why, every week I wait for some kind of inspiration to come to me to know what to talk about. And although I do actually have weeks of content planned, I like being in the flow. I like knowing that there's something that is going on in the moment that's going to matter more than what I predicted like 12 weeks ago to say right now. And the reason why I decided like just last night to talk about the power of knowing that nothing matters is because I went to the movies. And last night I went to see a movie that my son told me to watch. I wouldn't have known of it otherwise. It's called something like Everything, Everywhere, All the Time, or something like that. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm just going to do a quick search. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It's called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's the name of this movie. I just watched it last night, and it is a movie that is at the level of The Matrix. It is something that some people might have to watch a couple of times. It is a movie that if somebody has a lot of education in theology, philosophy, physics, that this, could make a lot of sense, and psychology. This could make a lot of sense on the first run watching it. I do have some amount of training in each of these things, but enough to be able to follow, and years of practice with meditation and transcendental experiences. And the movie made a lot of sense to me. And it really did remind me of when I watched The Matrix for the first time, thinking the average public is not going to understand this movie. The first Matrix was a movie that was became a study group for like Buddhist monks. Like they were doing private showings of The Matrix to talk about just how real and how deep it really is. And it's really hard to tell people in the average public that this is a dream, that this is all an illusion of some sort, because here's the paradox: when you're in an illusion, you don't know it's an illusion. And this happens to us. Sorry. Well, didn't bring water today. This happens to us also when we're dreaming every night. When you're in the dream, what is happening in your subconscious mind to your body and to your mind is real. It's very much real while you're in it. So that's its own version of the Matrix. And that's where a movie like Inception starts to matter, which of course it doesn't matter, but it's where it starts to, I think, add more layers of understanding. And these, I think, when it's in a movie, it's easier to see it presented in a way that where there's a visual, an emotion, a sound, and watching a person in a story where they are going through it might help us to empathize into something that we don't fully understand. But this movie really did play Everything Everywhere All at Once, the movie I'm talking about, did play into the concept very heavily that nothing matters. And from the perspective that everything is impermanent, that whatever it is that this is where the root of nothing matters leads to a form of depression. Okay. So when I'm actually going to create a banner right now, how we get depressed because nothing matters. Because nothing does. I'm just going to show that. So let's talk for a second about how we get depressed because nothing matters. If everything mattered, if absolutely, this is going to be a little bit of philosophy. I consider it to be not philosophy. I consider it to be a scientific fact, but everyone can have their own individual opinion about this, because it all just depends on which level of experience you're in. If you're in a dream state, if you're very conscious, if you are very spiritual, whatever realm you're listening from, this is going to have a slightly different, truth to you. So today we're definitely going to play with extremes, the extremes that nothing matters and everything matters. Okay. So if you operate from a place that everything matters, where this leads to depression, is that if you think that everything you do matters, everything you say matters, and you put everything you do and say and eat, and you put photos of yourself out on the internet, and you posting every little idea and everything you have as if it matters to the world, and then you get no response at all, no feedback, nobody cares, it doesn't make any impact. If you have no impact, then you're going to feel like what you do doesn't matter. If you feel like everything matters, when you start to realize it doesn't matter as much as you think it does, because actually nothing matters, it can lead to depression. It could lead to feelings of inadequacy, being small, being invisible, being unimportant, being distant, being disconnected, being unwanted, unimportant again, that's unwanted, rejected. All of these come from a place of thinking that everything you do and everything you are matters, and everything that everyone else does and everything else and everyone else matters. Because why does it matter what they think? So even if you're putting out something that can make a massive impact, a big change, a cure to world hunger, and you put it out and no one reacts, it simply means it doesn't matter to them. And I have actually tried to hand food to a person starving on the streets, homeless, begging for food, who's like, no, not that food. No, I don't want that food. I want this other food. Clearly, it really mattered to that person, what kind of food they were getting. And it didn't really matter that I was offering it. It wasn't like, oh, I don't really want this, but because you're giving it to me, I'll take it anyway because you matter. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. So the fact that I had food, whether or not I offered it to the homeless person, really didn't matter, because the very next person in the next car or driving behind me might have offered food that they wanted, and what I did didn't matter. If I believed that everything mattered, that could have been offensive or made me sad or make me feel like, wow, I'm so worthless. I'm such a failure in life. I can't even give a starving person food. How stupid am I? How completely incapable am I in the world that I cannot feed a starving person? That's if everything matters. Okay. This leads to depression because the number one cause of depression is disconnection. If we try to make a connection with someone, hey, look at my new shoes out on Facebook, and nobody says anything, or the opposite, they're like, why are you showing us your shoes? Like, you should just keep that to yourself. That doesn't make any difference to us. That's like bluntly saying it doesn't matter instead of just not reacting. Then it's like, if I come from a place that everything matters, if I think that I need that, what we call that, validation, if I feel like it matters, that everything matters, and what their validation is matters, then I would be in a position where I need someone else to say something before I even know that it matters. Just want to be very clear that I'm going to take lots of breaks in a lot of the stuff I'm saying, because when I keep repeating everything matters, nothing matters, this matters, what if that doesn't matter, it's very easy to get lost. There's a lot of words, and this is a non-tangible concept. I can't draw I don't know anyway that I can draw a diagram that can explain how this idea works, but I do think it's a very important concept. And there's going to be a lot of repetition, because essentially there is only one point. And my effort today is in giving enough examples and enough perspectives that you come to understand the power of knowing that nothing matters. And genuinely, when everything we do doesn't matter to somebody, we start to get depressed. Then we start to think that what we do doesn't matter. And so then we start making no effort. If we need external validation, if we need somebody to congratulate us, if we need somebody to say, oh, that made a difference, if we need somebody to say thank you to show that it matters, when it actually just inherently doesn't, if we need all of that, then that's going to start to become a dependency on why we do anything. If we only do something for the sake of finding out that it mattered to somebody, and when I say mattered, it means it made a difference, it made an impact, it made an influence in their life in some way. Impact, okay? Made a change, a ripple. If what we do makes no ripples at all, we're going to start to feel like there's no point. What's the point? That's a disconnection from creating. It's a disconnection from expressing ourselves. And that leads to depression. That's how, when things don't matter, it leads to depression. But I can't say this enough, and this is going to be the theme of the day, but it didn't matter anyway. So now, how do we flip this and avoid depression? By understanding that nothing matters. If I decide that I want to bake a cake, I love the whole cake thing. I always use this as an example. And I go out onto the street and I decide to offer this cake to every person that walks by. And that's the kind of thing that here at Young and Dundas, I can actually do, and it would be seen as normal. Not that that matters, but if I did it, I could. And I could actually get over any kind of idea of judgment or rejection or some negative thing happening to me. I can move into a place where none of those opinions really matter, because there's just going to be another 1,000 other people that maybe it does matter to. So if I bake a cake, go outside and start offering to people, and if 0 people even look at me, okay, you know what? Let's take this to a real world scenario. I actually did this for real. I got asked to go out onto the street and hold a sign that said, pretty sure it said free hugs or some, you know what? I can't even remember, just because my memory is going on me. It was actually a very special event because I learned a lot. But it was something like going outside and holding signs that were something like free hugs or let's talk. It was something like trying to make connections and offer just some kind of connection to anybody that might need it. And I stood there with 2 other people, and I'm one of the younger people. Another guy that was there was an obviously older man with pure white beard and kind of gray white hair, and somebody that looked like he had more life experience than me, and a middle-aged black woman. So we had a bit of a spread here. Okay, so I knew that there was a possibility that I would be the least approachable of the people there. And I fall into the demographic of the 3 of us of being the highest chance of causing someone harm. I mean, if you just kind of go into what kind of person causes harm most of the time, it's probably going to be a middle-aged white guy. But sorry for being racist. Apparently I'm allowed to say anything I want about middle-aged white guys if I am one. So yeah, the guy was right. I got the least amount of people talking to me. People were actually actively ignoring me. They didn't want to make eye contact. And there I was holding a sign that said something like, I'm pretty sure it wasn't free. It was probably free hugs, or it was let's talk. I really can't remember. And yeah, so I'm operating from a place of none of it matters. I'm going out, I'm making an offer, and my offer doesn't genuinely matter unless somebody needs it or decides that it is. If I'm operating from a place of my effort doesn't matter, my offering doesn't matter, the impact that I'm trying to make doesn't matter, I don't matter, then I'm coming from an expectation that there won't actually be any validation. I'm coming from the expectation that nobody's going to reply or look at me or even acknowledge me because I actually don't matter, and neither does my offer. Because it doesn't. It actually doesn't matter to any of the people that looked at it. So it inherently doesn't matter. So as those people are walking by, what's happening in my head? If it genuinely doesn't matter, then there's no reaction. There's no letdown, there's no upset, there's no judgment, there's no emotional response, because it doesn't really matter. It's just a random experience that I decided to go along to make an effort to put some help out in the world. But coming from a place of knowing that it doesn't inherently matter unless somebody decides it does, I could remain in a state where I'm not getting upset. I'm not feeling disconnected, rejected, belittled, unimportant. It just doesn't matter. And this is where the power of nothing matters really sits. Okay. It sits in the knowing that you have a choice to decide if something matters. Let's give another example. If I was standing there and holding the sign offering free advice or free hugs, and people were mocking me, putting me down, telling me to leave, saying I was only causing more harm than good, if their opinions are individually their opinions and they don't matter to me, they'll move on. They will just keep on walking eventually. And eventually somebody that it might matter to will show up and they'll ask me a question. If I know that all of these opinions and judgments, if they don't matter to me, I'll keep standing there offering to help. But how is it? Put yourself in a situation. How easy is it to stand there and not react to somebody putting you down or telling you something about you that isn't true? It's kind of hard to stand there and hear this because you're making it matter to you. How are you making it matter to you? Well, it's validation. It's seeking feedback. It's seeking some form of acknowledgement because you've decided that it matters. If you come from a place where absolutely nothing matters, then even your own opinion of what you do doesn't matter. Take that a step further because you're not going to do necessarily nothing. At some point, there's also a freedom in knowing that nothing matters. The freedom is, what do I feel like wearing today? It doesn't matter. Well, what if I put on the wrong thing and people make fun of me? Well, that doesn't matter either. It's just words that are going to pass. They're not going to stay there forever. Even me wearing the thing, even if their opinion, even if it mattered to me, as soon as I change the clothes, the opinion of those clothes go with the clothing. It's all in me to carry that judgment. It's on me. It's my responsibility. It's my effort, I should say, to carry the judgment of the clothes that I just randomly put on or the words that I was randomly saying when I was outside. But if I decide to put on a mishmash of clothes, walk outside and just try to randomly say whatever words came to my mouth, football, marshmallow, duck, diggly-doo, blah, 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 blah. And if I just walk down the street saying things that genuinely don't matter, in an arrangement of clothes and scraps of metal and cloth that don't matter, and nothing I'm doing seemingly matters, there is a freedom that can come from this experience, this practice of genuinely not trying to do anything that matters. There is a freedom in understanding that all of the judgments and all of the reactions that come to this thing that I'm doing that don't matter, that all of those are connected to something that doesn't matter. If I put my heart and soul into a piece of art and I put that art onto the street and I get a bunch of negative comments, that might hurt my feelings if I decide that my painting matters. That might hurt my feelings if the painting doesn't even matter to me and I show it to a bunch of friends and family and they all tell me I'm an idiot. Well, now the friends and family's opinion matters. But these are all things that lead to the potential of disconnection. But what if I understand that it actually doesn't matter? The art I make is a random expression that only is available at that moment. It doesn't really matter. It's just a cause and effect. I'm in a mood, so I make a bunch of squiggles on a piece of paper, and that might go off into the world or it doesn't. I don't care. So let's say somebody comes along, picks it up, and shows it to the world and sticks my name on it. And a bunch of people have opinions on it. Still don't care. It doesn't matter. So if they then pass it out into the world and they make some big movement to block me from society, so now I now can't get a job and I got to go live off of the land, it still doesn't actually matter. It might matter to people when I disappear because I got sent away. It might matter to people that want to see me, but if it doesn't matter to me, off I go, randomly going off to the next place where nobody knows where I am and they don't have an opinion of me and nothing matters. And that's freedom. That's peacefulness. That's presence without judgment, without expectations. That's just being. And that's the kind of freedom that we can have when nothing matters. But like I said, there is a paradox, a bit of a fine line when it comes to the way our brains are wired. Because our brains are wired to believe that things matter. Our brains are wired to actually create associations, emotional connection. purpose, duty, fate, not fate, but like, yeah, purpose. Let's just stick with that. Like a deeper meaning. Our brains are wired to create these things. But you see, to a lizard with nothing but a reptilian brain, nothing matters. It's just sometimes there's food in front of them, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes they're cold and go into a sun, and if there's no sun, then they're just cold. It doesn't matter. There's no opinion. There's no emotional response. But to a mammal, it does matter if they get rejected, if they get fed last. It does matter if they don't get cuddled or paid attention to. That's what a mammal brain does. And to a neocortex in our triune brain setup, our neocortex starts to make this meaning apply to the greater picture. That somehow, because my family loves me and people are complimenting the stuff that I create, that somehow that must have a greater connection to the universe, having greater purpose and a greater existence. But none of those are inherently true. And at the same time, they may not be inherently false. But it comes down to you deciding how much something really does matter. And there's much more freedom and understanding that the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter. It's just a cause and effect. So when a wave crashes down on the tiniest little bacteria in the ocean and it dies, you won't know, and therefore you won't be able to make the decision that it matters. If you decide, and there are people that are like this, I can't remember the wording for it, but there have been studies on people that make everything matter. Every little action that you take has a ripple effect and a butterfly effect into everything. And so we must pay the utmost attention to every little act that we make, every little word that we say, only speaking the things that we want as if everything matters. Well, for some people, what happens is it causes depersonalization, full on dissociation, a complete removal from the ability to manage peace of mind, because the brain goes crazy trying to hold the connection of all things as if it all matters. The web and ripple effect of every little action and everything that happens, if everything matters and our brains try to hold on to it, they will explode. But if we make absolutely nothing matter, why don't I just go randomly run out and kill all the puppies in the world and drown the kittens? Why not? It doesn't matter anyway. Well, when absolutely nothing matters, then it starts to move us into a place where we might call that sociopath. Okay? So on a scale of nothing mattering and everything mattering, both lead to a very major disconnection from society. And yet both are true. But depending on which side you're looking from, neither are true. So where's the real power? If we start with everything matters, we're going to go crazy. You can't do it. You can't pull it off. You're going to go crazy. If you go from the perspective that nothing matters, well, first of all, and here's the bit of the conundrum. When literally everything matters, let's go this way. This is everything. This is full. Imagine this is full of everything. What's genuinely everything? Okay. What about nothing? What's 99.999% of everything? What's left? Nothing. So if you decide that absolutely everything matters, nothing matters. nothing now has a major impact. And there's a power in knowing that nothing does matter. And the whole thing flips. And there's the paradox. You want to know when nothing matters? Do these jeans make me look fat? Say nothing. All right? That's going to matter in the future. But, it's going to matter because somebody's going to be like, oh, so you think they make me look fat, and you're saying nothing. Well, the message is very clear. You could just sit there totally blank as if you didn't hear a word, and that nothing will still have a lot of mattering in that case. Oh, how about, I lost my wallet. This actually happened a few years ago. Lost my wallet, had $1,000 cash in it. Did those people say anything to me? Nope. Whoever found it said absolutely nothing. That was a pretty powerful thing that they said nothing, because I lost out on $1,000 and it had a major impact on my life. And that nothing really did matter. Okay, to me, it made an impact when I say matter. So there are times where doing absolutely nothing has a pretty major impact. It actually has a bigger impact than doing something. So nothing really does matter quite a bit. And if everything matters, then nothing must matter. But if nothing matters at all, nothing at all matters, you still have one thing that matters, nothing. And there's a bit of a paradox there. It's almost impossible to achieve. So the only way to believe that nothing matters would be to have no awareness of it. And there's a bit of a paradox. When absolutely nothing matters, try it. Sit in a monastery or become a monk, or sit in a cave where you cannot hear anything or see anything, where you can't eat or drink anything, and just be there. And every thought that comes up, do nothing. Don't react, don't judge, don't do anything. And none of it matters anyway. Do nothing. Nothing is the only thing that matters. Nothing matters. Keep doing nothing. At some point, if you have absolutely no connection or attachment to any one thing other than nothing, you will be bombarded with the awareness of everything. Everything there is will come into awareness simply because you didn't pay attention to any one thing. You actually deactivate attention and you go to a place of stillness where there is nothing to react to and no reaction to have, because there's nothing there too, where nothing matters. And if you start to deactivate your senses, you would have no idea that there was a sound to know about. It's black, pitch black in the cave. There's no light to know about, so there's no images to know about. There's no sound to know about other than, I guess, yourself. But let's say turn off the sound, turn off the ability to hear. There goes that. So there's nothing to react to. No smells. What if there was no ability to think? What if there was nothing there to react to because there was a blank mind? We call that vegetable. Person becomes a vegetable. They can't perceive or react to anything. They just become a point of observation, a point of awareness with no reaction because nothing matters enough to react to it. Keep going. Does that person get to a point of truly knowing what nothing is? With no reactions, with no heartbeats, with no vibrational waves, with no activity in the point of consciousness, everything goes to nothing. The utmost, stillest, most purest, most infinitely singular thing there is. Nothing. It can't be one thing. It can't be something, because there has to be something witnessing that to even know it's there. It's got to be nothing. And in that utter, total stillness of nothing, with no judgment, no reaction, there is, well, nothing, but I would call that peace. So if you can sit in the middle of a construction site and have no reaction to the sounds and the movements and the smells, you would be at peace as if it wasn't there. Okay? If you were sitting in a playground as a kid and bullies were verbally, obviously this is slightly different if they're pushing you around, but even that, if you make no reaction whatsoever at any given point, the chances of actually being bullied are very slim because they'd have nothing to pick on if you said nothing and did nothing. Literally nothing. Because they always find something to pick on. And if there was literally no reaction, it's like playing dead when a wild animal comes along. There's nothing to react to judge. There is a sense of freedom, a sense of peace that can come from that. Any questions? What I love about this, I'm assuming Lydia's typing right now based on the shaking on her camera. What I love about this is that I currently have 0 people watching in Facebook. I love it. I see this is the whole magic of me going with exactly the flow. And the flow was to talk about how powerful nothing is. And I'm speaking it to, on my screen has a little eyeball with a 0 beside it, which almost never happens. And I love it. It's funny how that nothing really kind of matters today. So funny and suitable. Even funnier if nobody ever watched this, but there's Lydia. No questions really. I've just been thinking about a similar idea. Opposites attract because they are the same in terms of polarity. So you know, there is you might both, so like if you're rich or poor, you might both obsess about money equally. Absolutely. You might both obsess about money equally. And if the money genuinely doesn't matter to the rich person, they might become poor. And if money genuinely doesn't matter to the poor person, they might actually become rich. It's kind of interesting, but sometimes you get what you don't think you don't have. Because thinking about the lack of money actually creates more lack. And funny enough, when we don't even think about money and just act from a place of just pure expression as if it doesn't matter, sometimes we get the absolute most genius ideas, which then lead us to be rich. But the money didn't matter anyway. So this is where the power of thinking that nothing really matters comes from, is that when, like, oh, right, there was an example I wanted to give. How many times in history has there been a world-like conqueror taking over a section of Asia, taking over Italy, taking over Greece, taking over France, Germany, wherever? Always. Yeah, nice one. Always. Why is it that if they're so powerful, so all-consuming, thinking that everything matters and it all revolves around them as the dictator, where are they now? Where did their impact really extend to if it just eventually washed away? If we threw out the history books, if we never spoke of yesterday, never, they would not exist. except for those that were there, but those people are going to pass too. Eventually, nobody's sitting around talking about what was here, I don't know, before the earth was here. Because before the earth was here, it's okay. Well, I guess people are talking about that. Big Bang Theory, what was the start of all of this? We'll go before that. At some point, you're going to go back far enough that you don't have anyone around to tell you what happened. There's not going to be any information hanging out in the universe to try and record it from. At some point, everything's going to pass into nothing. Because nothing matters. That's where it came from, and that's where it's going. It's actually the only thing that matters is nothing. Because everything else that is something, guess where it goes? Nowhere. It goes back to nothing. And it's a bit of a chemical reaction, a cause and effect. It just happened to be there at the right place at the right time to create the spark that created the fire, that created the destruction, which then created the soil to create a whole new forest, to create a whole new spawn of a whole new species. I mean, it's just cycles. It comes, it goes. It all comes from nowhere and goes nowhere. So why do we attach to it? Why do we make it matter? Well, if nothing matters, here's another freedom. We can then choose to apply our focus to anything. We can become anything. We are free to be whatever we want, to say whatever we want, to do whatever we want, when nothing actually matters. Now, again, I know that there are people that are going to be like, well, I'm not going to go running around just shooting people on the street because it doesn't matter. It matters in the grand scheme of things. Yeah and no, because eventually it all would have been gone anyway. Now, I don't want to invite in somebody coming and wiping everything that I have and know and everything around me gone, but there is a point where isn't that going to happen anyway? So then why would it matter? And I just try to make the point about not stressing about it. That's all. Not operating from a place of fear that it's all going away. It's all going away anyway. Not operating from a place of fear that what I create might not work. So it doesn't work. I create something else. Because the thing that genuinely stops most people from getting started is the fear that what they're getting started on is going to go away. Okay, newsflash, it's going to go away. Like it will. It actually will. No matter what you do, it's going to be gone. You can take over half the world. And 200 years later, if people aren't mentioning your name, they won't know you were around. Stuff doesn't last that long around here. So what if you come from a place of you're just doing it because you can? Just because you can. Just for the experience. You can call it whatever you want. If nothing really matters, you can decide what scale of mattering it's even on. Oh, I'm doing it because today it's fun. Tomorrow, it's not fun. Doesn't matter. And call it what I want. And you know what? That thing doesn't matter to that person, but I'm going to decide it matters to me. I got that kind of freedom. How do I get that freedom? Well, we start with, none of it really mattered. I just chose it. And the freedom is I can choose that it doesn't matter the next day. That to me sounds like freedom. And that starts with knowing that the only thing that matters is nothing. So I hope that's landing with you. I'm saying this to the 0 people out on the Facebook and YouTube right now that I'm speaking to the nothing right now. I love it. If everything is important, of course, Lydia's here in the studio. If everything is important, we would spend all our time defending it rather than concentrating on living. Perhaps so we won't have nothing or feel like nothing. And that's entirely true. But if nothing is the only thing that matters, then there's nothing wrong with feeling like nothing. If we have nothing and nothing is all that matters, well, then we have everything we need. And everything else is a bonus because the stuff doesn't matter, only nothing does. only a place of peace, non-judgment, non-reaction, or even non-action. Just a genuine place of stillness matters nothing. And everything else, can make you limitless. That's right, like a blank canvas or page, starting with nothing. And Lydia, there is something quite beautiful to just hanging a bunch of blank canvases. How amazing is it that when you put up a canvas, for anybody else listening, Lydia paints, right? Like you make paintings? Yeah. So if I take a painting of, I don't know, an ocean and I put it on my wall, every time I look at that painting, I'm going to think about something that relates to an ocean. Okay? It might be a different experience every time I look at it. But it's limited to something. But what if I put a blank canvas? In my case, I have literally a blank wall. I have a big white wall. And all the time I'm looking at it like, trying to imagine what I'd put on that. And on different days, I'm imagining different things. And it's actually come to the point where it's kind of fun to think about what would I put on that wall that day. The fact that there's nothing on the wall is actually giving me way more ideas and possibilities than if I put something on the wall. This is where nothing really matters more in my creativity and my freedom and in my way of expansion even. Now I'm thinking about stuff that I wouldn't have even thought of before because I'm just getting bored or excited. And I'm getting even more ideas, or that I'm out searching the world for ideas of what to put on the wall. But now there becomes a fear that if I pick any one thing, I'm going to be left with something and not the nothing that was causing me to go looking in the first place. Man, that nothing had a lot more power, I think. Seemed like the nothing matters more. So this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about today, is the power of having the ability to understand the freedom that nothing can bring in the variety of ways that we spoke about it today. And the freedom, beautiful, another one, having the space for something new. What's her name? Maria Kondo or something, or some Japanese lady that like got famous. She has a TV show for helping people organize their homes. She comes into the home and the first thing she does, every single home, she takes everything that's in the cluttered area or everything is just cluttered anywhere, and she makes one giant pile. Okay. She says it does two things. First of all, it makes people realize just how much stuff they have when they see it all piled up. Okay. First of all. Second of all, it disorders it. It puts it into something that has no meaning. It just puts it into a pile. There's no organization, so there's no connection to it. We have a lot less connection to a pile of stuff than we do to stuff that looks like it's all organized and it has meaning. But there is no meaning. Okay, nothing has meaning. It's just a big pile of stuff now. Then when you go off into all of the places that are now dead empty and there's nothing in them, there is a brand new appreciation for the space, as you said, Lydia. That space, that nothingness, now has more power. It has more influence on the people's experience of spaciousness, freedom, possibility. It makes people not want to put the stuff back just because it got emptied. That nothing mattered way more than all of the stuff that was shoved in there for 20 years that they forgot even existed. These are another example of how nothing matters and creates freedom. Okay? Also, there are people that kept breaking into somebody I know, their float tank place, a place of business in Hamilton, okay? These thieves would come up, smash the window, come in, they took all of the computers. They're on camera. So the owners call the police. The police are like, oh, that guy. He's like, what? Like, yeah, it's freaking steals from everybody in Hamilton. And the owner, let's call him Joe. And Joe says to the police, why is he still doing it? You have one job, police. Put him in jail. They're like, oh, no. We totally put him in jail. And then, of course, he has to get out of jail because it's not the death sentence. He's got to get out eventually. And he's just stealing stuff. He's not, hurting people. So he's not going to stay in there very long. And then he comes out and off he goes, stealing more stuff. And they're like, what do you think we're supposed to do about it? They say to Joe. They're like, put him in jail. They're like, oh, no, we do. And then he gets out. But what are you supposed to do? Take his stuff? What if we remove all of the stuff from the thief? What do you think the thief is going to do? Oh, he's going to go steal more stuff. What if we give him a bunch of stuff? What's he going to do? Well, in this particular case, we happen to know that he doesn't really have anything. So he sells the stuff to make the money to buy the food and to live, to survive. So he steals it. But he has nothing. So guess what? We can't revoke his driver's license. We can't take his credit cards. We can't go to his place of business. And I can't remember what they call it, but they take the funds out of your bank account from whatever it's called, where they take your paycheck. The government will take your paycheck if you have a job. Okay. Garner your wages. Thanks, Lydia. We can't garner his wages. He's got none. Dude is free. We put him in jail to make him not free. And then we have to let him back out again because we got nothing. He's got nothing. He's just going to get out, steal more stuff. So they said, you know what the best thing to do to stop this guy from stealing your stuff? They say this to Joe, real story. You should put metal bars on your glass and have less stuff for him to steal. Then he won't pay any attention to you. And Joe's like, this is ridiculous. I need a computer to run my business. I have the right to have stuff. And they're like, well, if you got a lot of stuff, you're going to have to now defend your stuff against the people who have no stuff. Because who's the real person in power here? It's the guy that's got nothing. This is a real story. Mind-blowing to me, really. Because he has a camera showing the guy's face who's not even he can friggin' wave at the camera, be like, hey, cops, I'm stealing more stuff. Come find me. You know where I live. I'll go to jail, have a beautiful life for a couple of weeks, free food, because I got nothing. You're giving me all kinds of stuff when I'm in jail. And then I'm going to get out and I'll go get more stuff because I got nothing. And they said, we simply just tell everyone, all of the businesses, is a real thing, to just protect your stuff because the guy with nothing he's just going to keep taking. He's just going to keep taking it. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care. And now, because none of this matters to that thief, we have no power over him because he's got nothing. We can't threaten him. Can't take his stuff. He's got none. He doesn't care about nothing we say matters to him. He's free. Okay? There was a point where I had so little money after a divorce. I had so little money. I actually ate out of a garbage can. And I looked around at what I had, negative tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm looking at people that are straight up homeless. It's not an easy life. I don't recommend it. But I'm looking at people that are homeless. And I say, those people with nothing literally have tens of thousands of dollars more than me. Because if I'm negative, I'm going to make up a number here. If I'm negative $1 million and they're at zero, the second somebody hands them $1 for food, they are now plus $1. And I'm negative 9999999. And I was like, how did they get ahead of me? How did this person with zero things get $1 million ahead of me? And I looked at it and I thought, it's because I kept getting stuff. I decided that all this stuff mattered. So then I made more money and then I spent more money on all this stuff because I thought the money mattered and I thought the stuff mattered. I thought all this stuff mattered and none of it matters because guess what? Poof, it all went away. It all went away anyway. And along with it was any of my care that it mattered. Oh, I tried to get it back. I went and got more money. I went and got another job. I got another house and a whole other partner. And I got another car because that went away too. I didn't get other kids though. The original ones were pretty great. So I kept those. And new friends, whole new everything. Poof, it happened again. All that went away. House went away, cottage, boat, other boat. Yes, 3, everything. Okay. I managed to retain the bicycle. everything else gone. And the reminder that none of it mattered. That the freedom of living in the moment and genuinely appreciating what I have, the freedom that I have, that was that freedom and the appreciation happened because of nothing, because of having nothing. All right, we're going to call that done for today. Thanks a lot, Lydia, for all your comments and for sharing that. They don't go live to the public, so I read everything. I think you're telling me decluttered, Lydia says here in the studio. And if you wish, it doesn't matter to me. So, you know, if you look at all the stuff that you're trying to declutter, I guarantee you the reason why it's cluttered is because you think it matters. Start with, it doesn't matter. Shove all of it into a giant plastic bag, put it somewhere, and count the number of days before you're like, where's my stapler? Pull the stapler out of the bag. That probably matters. And then everything else that you forget existed, just ask someone to remove the bag and not tell you, because it doesn't matter and you keep making it matter. Okay? And yes, I have given away stuff and then had to go rebuy it because I thought it didn't matter. That's fine. Okay? I have also done the opposite, where I have purchased something that I already owned because it mattered so little to me, I forgot I even had one. Either way, no mental energy being expended on that. Way more freedom to think about other things. Okay? Doing what I feel like because it doesn't matter. Just checking in case there's any comments. Thanks a lot to Becky, who's not here right now, for saying hi out on Facebook land. Have a good night. Thanks for the talk. You're very welcome, Lydia. It does actually matter to me that you show up. And if you decide to not show up, I won't hold it against you because it doesn't matter. And but always nice to have a bit of both sides, eh? So thank you. Again, thanks a lot for everyone that watches this in the replay and for letting me know that you actually do watch this in the replay. So even when 0 people other than Lydia show up, I still know that somebody's watching it. And that actually does matter to me, because otherwise I would do other things with my time if you weren't watching it. So thanks a lot for watching it and letting me know that it matters to you. And I hope it does. So good night.